Okay, so let's continue. Next, we will be discussing the difference of data and information. Okay, so just like what I mentioned a while back, it's not enough that you have data, but you have to properly use this data to create it into a meaningful information. Okay. So what is the difference between data and information? So data are raw, unprocessed elements or facts that on their own, they lack specific meaning or context. So these are raw entities representing potential insights but require processing, interpretation, and contextualization to become actionable or understandable information. On the other hand, information is data that has been processed, organized, and presented in context so that it can be used meaningfully. It emerges when data is interpreted and given a purpose or context. So, yung information, it will now answer questions like who, what, when, where, and even why. Why? Right? So, when we say data, these are raw entities, right? So, let me give an example of raw entities. Okay, number one, numbers and figures. Okay? So, yung number na 34, 15, 87, the 6, 21. If you see this without context, you cannot explain what they represent. Okay? It could be anything. It could be a lotto number combination. It could be a score in an exam. So, but when given with context, this can represent the sales figures, patient counts, stock prices, etc. Okay? Second example of raw entities na pwede mo consider na data are text strings. So, yung mga random sequences of words or letters such as apple, des, blue, QRXTY, without being given with clear context about their relevance, it's a mere data. But if you could categorize, analyze for sentiment, or use in natural language processing, these words, these letters can have meaning. Okay? Next are images and sounds. So, images, let's say for example, a photograph of crowd without information about where and why it was taken, a satellite image. All of this, kapag hindi ka nabigyan ng proper context, you will not be able to provide a meaningful information. Okay? But with proper context, these images can tell you stories. It could represent the data and even could provide insight into events. How about sounds? A sound clip of rustling leaves, isolated musical note without context of song or melody. Okay, that's raw entity, that's data. But you can analyze this if you will be looking for patterns, using music, or studied for environmental insights. Another raw entity is the videos and log and timestamp. Okay, so pag nakita ka ng short clip ng video or even unidentified person speaking without context or subtitles, di ba, hindi mo siya nabibigyan ng interpretation or ng proper interpretation or meaning. Okay? But videos can provide context to events, can also be used for analysis, or it can even offer you entertainment. Logs and timestamps. Okay, yung mga date, yung oras, kahit in-record mo yan, kahit meron kang mga listahan, without additional information about what you are tracking, it's a mere data. But when you associate these logs and timestamps to events, okay, you can use this to track behavior, system performance, and others. Okay. Barcode and temperature readings could also be considered as data. Okay. So yung barcode natin, kapag meron ka lang mga lines, patterns without scanner or walang associated data that it will point you to, it's a mere data. But when you have scanner and when you scan it, it could provide detailed product information. It could link you to website. It could authenticate something. That's where it becomes information. Temperature readings, okay, a series of like 20 degrees Celsius, 24, 21. Without information about where or when or why you are recording this, it's still raw data, raw entity. Okay. But if you will use this for climate studies, if you will use this for home automation or even health monitoring, napaka-crucial ngayon nagiging information na siya, which is crucial for decision making. Okay. Another examples are the raw sensor data and machine code. Okay. So from alam ko naman, maybe you have seen already yung mga wearables and Internet of Things devices, IoT. So this might include yung mga heartbeat rates, accelerometer readings, light exposure levels. Okay. Without application or context to interpret them, wala, ba? And these are just mere data. But if you have an application that will monitor your health, yung device performances, and you can use it to environmental studies, then nag-transform siya into information. Then lastly, we have your machine code. Sequences of zeros and ones that form the binary, but without an interpreter or context about the program they represent, it's just data. Okay? But when you interpret itong mga binary codes na to, and baka pwede nang gamitin yan to run software applications, games, operating systems, this is where it becomes information. Right? So let's have a more detailed difference of data and information. Okay, in terms of significance, data is not significant. Standalone data is of no use. But for information, it has some context, therefore it will provide meaning. Okay, and since it has meaning, it will allow managers or people to take some action on behalf of it. Okay? So, yan yung first difference. Let's say, for example, sa HR context. Let's say, for example, you have a data that includes a list of dates when employee was absent from work. Data yan. Yung mga listahan nila, kailan sila nag-absent. Information, however, is when those dates are analyzed to find that the employee tends to be absent every Monday. Di ba? Indicating a potential issue or pattern that HR might needs to address. Ba't kaya sila nag-absent na Monday? Alright, baka tinatamad na sila. Meron pa silang mga hangover during the weekends. Okay, o kaya hindi sila excited na pumasok pag Lunes. Ganon. Diba? So, nagagamit mo yan to find the reason why is it that most absences happens every Monday. So that you could make some strategies or decisions to improve these absences of your employees during Monday. Number 2, difference, representation. Okay, Data can be visualized in structured forms such as table, data tree, data graph. Okay? And for information, it is seen as language, ideas, and thoughts, which are based, of course, on data. Okay, let's say, for example, in the HR context again, data might be from, let's say, for example, feedback, comments from an employee survey, okay, regarding job satisfaction. So, yung mga comments doon, mga feedback doon, those are data, right? But you can transform this to information when you organize the report that categorizes feedback into areas just like work environment, managerial support, growth opportunities. So, meron ka ng mga categories. So, this will offer HR a clearer picture of areas of concern or satisfaction. Okay? Third difference is on form. The data is in raw form. Information naman is in the form of ideas and inferences or conclusions that are based on the data. Okay. Let's say, for example, in HR, raw data might include yung mga individual scores from series of employee training modules. So, what could be the information we get if we collect, analyze, categorize this data? So the information is when these scores are compiled into the overall training performance report, which indicates na kung anong module dito yung most effective at kung saan nag-excel yung mga empleyado. Okay? Number 4, reliability. Data most of the time is unreliable compared to information. But the information now becomes reliable because it conveys meaning and there is a proper organization and dedication to a single context. Okay? So let's say, for example, yung HR department might collect raw data on employee turnover. Diba? So this becomes reliable information when analyzed to find out that, let's say, for example, 20% of your employees who resigned cited lack of growth opportunities as the main reason. So with this information, HR can reliably make decisions about improving career development programs because 20% of your employees nag-resign sila because na-mention doon that yung kanilang main reason why they are resigning is because of lack of growth opportunities. Okay. Another is the dependency. Data is dependent and can stand alone, but information is dependent on data. Okay. So you cannot process the information without the data. Data is it's the basic building block of information. If there is no data, there will be no information. Simple as that. Okay. Number 7 ba yan? Input and output. Of course, this is obvious. Data is something that you give as input for processing. And after processing, what you get now is the output, which is information. Okay? Let's say, for example, in HR might input raw data. Example, yung mga employee hours, overtime, tapos yung mga sick leave into the payroll system. Okay? The output, which is the information, is the process payslip that takes into account yung employee hours nagtrabaho siya, overtime, leave, including deductions and bonuses, ready for distribution to each employee. Number 8, decision making. As data is raw and it's meaningless, so sometimes it's useless, or most of the time it's useless for decision making. Okay? Information plays a vital role in the process of decision making. Okay? Alright? So, yon. So, kaya makikita mo dito, there is a high priority, and the decision may be wrong as it will rely on assumptions if you will be basing your decision on just raw facts and figures. Okay? So you have to transform these raw facts and figures into information. Let's say, for example, for example, sa HR na naman, raw feedback scores from employee engagement survey are difficult to act upon directly. But when these scores are aggregated, analyzed, and teamed into areas just like, for example, work-life balance, managerial support, career growth, HR can make decisions about where interventions or improvements are needed. Okay? Based on observations. Does this mean? Data is based first on observations and records. Okay? And the source of information is data. So, sinasabi natin dyan that information is based on the context that is in alignment of data. Okay? Example, sa HR department, they often record timestamps of employees check-in or time in and time out. Okay? So, yung mga raw observational data, when processed, pag in-analyze mo yan, it will provide you information about employee punctuality, patterns in overtime, and even potential burnout if an employee is constantly working long hours. Okay? Next, dalawa na lang. Analysis on the analysis. Data is never analyzed in its initial form. Right? Information is always analyzed. Okay, let's say, for example, HR may conduct an annual survey to gauge employee satisfaction. The raw scores and comments for all, the raw scores and comments in each employee are just data. But when you combine all of this data, let's say, for example, you have 100 employees. You don't analyze it per employee, Okay, you analyze this data by finding the average scores, categorizing comments, comparing departments. So, that data, yung raw scores, comments ng each employee, transforms into information. When you categorize them, you find the average score, you compare departments, and then you could determine which areas are satisfactory and which needs attention. Okay, number 10, usefulness. So, perspective to ng business, kasi data are useful naman because you use this to transform. But, the raw data is not so much important for the business. It's the information that is always useful because it provides meaning and it guides managers in decision making. Okay? So, yon yung mga distinctions between data and information. Okay? So, from these distinctions, the transition from data to information is a process of refinement and clarity. Data is like raw materials used in manufacturing, whereas information is the finished product, ready for use in business decision making. Especially, ulit tayo dito, in today's data-driven world, the ability to efficiently and accurately make this transition is vital for business and, of course, for HR department also. Okay? Alright, so let me give you another example of data and information in the university context. So, this is an example of data. Student numbers, kung meron ka listahan student numbers, raw data. Listahan ng mga scores, ng grades, raw data. Course codes, data. Names ng mga faculty, data. Dates ng mga lectures, it's still data on its raw form. Okay. And how about this? These are now examples of information in a university context. Graduation rates, course details, student performance, research insights, admission trends. Let's pick one, okay, and explain why is it now an information. Okay. Let's say, for example, in number one, yung una lang, graduation rates. Bakit nagiging information yan? Because it provides now a specific statistics regarding graduation rate of the engineering department in a specific year. And it also offers us comparative data from the previous year. Yeah. So what could be the implication of this? If you are a manager, or the dean of this engineering department, what would be the implication of this? So we could see that pwede mo na kasing mag-gauge dito yung performance and effectiveness of engineering department, specifically on their academic programs. Okay? So, a rise, meron 5% increase, di ba? A rise in graduation rates might indicate the success of academic support programs or even the effectiveness or efficacy of your curricular changes na ginawa ninyo in the past 2 years. Okay? Or the past 3 years. Ganyan. Okay, so nakakatulong ngayon yung data na to to evaluate yung effectiveness ng curriculum and also maybe yung quality ng kanilang mga teachers or faculty. Okay? Alright. Sige, next sample naman tayo along HR para may relate natin sa course ninyo na Human Resource Management. Examples of data in the context of PHRM: list of employee numbers, employee IDs, list of figures of salaries, attendance, names, evaluation scores. Okay, these are data. Examples of information in the context of HRM are the following. Okay, turnover rates, salary benchmarking, training effectiveness, attendance patterns, and performance insights. Okay. Let's say for example, number 1, turnover rates. Bakit siya information na? So makikita natin dito na hindi lang siya nag-provide ng raw percentage which is 12%, di ba? It also gave us context about the time frame 2022 and specific department which is marketing, and then it compares it to the previous year. So yung mga added details na mga ganon transform the raw data into a meaningful insight about employee retention within the marketing division. So if you're the manager, ano ang implication yan? Ano kaya ang implication? So if I will be seeing this data, I would say that the marketing division is experiencing a rising trend in employee departures. Okay? So it's whether voluntary resignation, involuntary, could be also retirement, so on and so forth. Marami naman yung mga reasons, ano? But if na-find out niyo na ang reason dyan is voluntary resignation, this might indicate dissatisfaction among employees, okay, or there might be some internal issues within the department, okay. So by looking into this data, the company, or with this information, the company needs to investigate now the root causes and perhaps look into employee engagement or retention strategies. Okay? So yun, yung difference ng data at saka sa information. Okay. So let's proceed to the 3 dimensions of information. We have here number 1, time dimension. It's the when aspect of the information. Okay? So, yan, pag-usapan natin yung mga data dimensions that represent different aspects of data that could help us, organize, analyze, derive insights. So number one is time dimension, refers to the temporal aspect of the data. So ibig sabihin, yung when is when the data was created, when the data was collected, when the data was processed, when the data was accessed. So it provides us chronological perspective, okay? And napaka-crucial nito in understanding trends, patterns, and evolution of data points over a period. Okay? So when we analyze data, meron tayong tinatawag ganito na time-oriented analysis that could reveal yung mga patterns that might otherwise go unnoticed. So this is especially true in the fields like finance, where stock prices fluctuates over time, or even in healthcare, where patients' health metrics can be tracked over periods, even sa HR. Pwede rin yan. Diba? Especially for, pag bumababa yung, pag tumataas yung turnover rate niyo, pag bumababa yung job satisfaction or employee engagement. So, through time dimension, nakakakita tayo ng mga historical data, just like past records. Okay, pwede rin yung mga real-time data, data from your live streaming, even yung mga stock market ticks, yung mga live stream data, stock market ticks or social media updates. Okay? So, in the time dimension, ang characteristic dapat ng quality information must be itong dalawang to, timeliness and currency. Okay? When we say timeliness, it refers to the relevance of information at a particular point in time. Okay? So, for information to be considered timely, it must be available when it's needed and be current enough to still be applicable. Kasi yung information na outdated or hindi available when, kung kailangan mo, okay, it could lose its value and it could lead into misinformed decisions. Okay? Let's say, for example, sa HR, imagine a scenario where an HR manager needs to make a quick hiring decision. If they receive feedback about candidates' interview performance several weeks later, they might miss out on hiring a valuable candidate who has since accepted another offer. Diba? Masyado kang magtagal na mag-decide because matagal mo na-receive yung mga feedback from other interviewers or partner mo in the hiring manager or hiring process. Okay? So, yun. Dapat timely yung paggamit mo. Okay? Ng mga relevant information. Okay? It must be available when you need it and it must be current enough. Itong currency naman pertains to freshness and up-to-dateness of information. So, information should be current, meaning it should reflect the most recent state of affairs or conditions. Yung mga old, stale information might not give you an accurate representation of the current situation. Okay? Next dimension is yung content dimension. Content dimension, the what aspect. This refers to the intrinsic value of the information. So, ibig sabihin, the actual content that it carries. So, the what or the substance of the information. So, in other words, it pertains to the factual, contextual, and detailed essence of the data presented. Okay? Kasi minsan, kahit yung binibigay sa information is timely tapos current, pero yung content naman niya is flawed, diba? Or kulang-kulang, then it's of a little value. Okay? So, for information na maganda ang content, it must be accurate, relevant, and complete. Okay? Accuracy relates to how correct and free from error yung information na yan. Information should faithfully represent the truth or actual state of affairs without being misleading. Okay. Doon naman sa relevance refers to the appropriateness and pertinence of information in a given context. Yeah. Information should align with the subject at hand and meet the demands or meet the needs of its intended audience. Let's say, for example, sa HR, when recruiting for specific role, dapat yung HR should focus on gathering information and feedback relevant to the required skills and qualifications for that role. Hindi yung tiltilid ng data, tiwated kanya na. And feedback about a candidate proficiency is in a very unrelated areas might be interesting but not necessarily relevant. Okay? For example, sa interview, ang layo-layo ng mga tinatanong mo compared doon sa actual na job. Okay? Then lastly, we have here completeness. It means that yung mga information mo should be whole and cover all necessary aspects of the subject. Hindi naman kulang-kulang, di ba? Kasi pag incomplete yung information, anong pwede mangyari? It can lead to misconception or half-baked decisions. Ganon. So, itong content dimension underscores the foundational importance of the inherent quality of information. So, let's say for example, while yung dimension ng timeliness or currency focus on when or how the current information is, remember na ang content dimension ensures that the information itself is reliable, pertinent, and comprehensive. And last dimension is the form dimension. Ito naman yung tinatawag natin na the how aspect of information. Okay? So, it deals with the manner in which information is presented. Okay? How is the information presented? So, ito hindi lang naman siya about substance of the information itself, but rather how the substance is packaged and delivered. So, this dimension acknowledges that the presentation, organization, and details of the information can significantly impact its effectiveness and comprehensibility. Okay? So, dapat yung information mo, okay, are characterized by details and presentation. Pag presentation, talks about medium, ordering, and graphic design. So, let's go first with details. Details pertain to the depth and granularity of information. So, depending on the context, information can be provided in a summarized form or with exhaustive specifics. Okay. Say, for example, an HR manager might need detailed records of employee attendance, performance evaluation, and training sessions. Okay? On the other hand, an overview might suffice now for the higher management reviewing department performance. So, magkaiba sila ng form of information na kailangan. Okay? Sa presentation naman, medium. The medium refers to the channel or platform through which the information is conveyed. Yeah? Say, for example, yung annual report. Okay? It could be in print, it could be on a digital PDF, or pwede rin na interactive website. Sa HR, employee training might be conducted in person, pwede rin through video conferencing tools, Zoom, Google Meet, MS Teams, mga ganon. Or yung training pwede rin na gawin through e-learning platform. For you, we are using our MVLE, learning management system natin yan. Okay, so ordering naman tayo. So ordering pertains to the sequence on which information is presented, ensuring that there is a logical flow that will enhance how readers or users of your information can simply or easily understand or comprehend yung pinapresent mo na information. Example, yung financial report, di ba? You might order it to by first present mo yung executive summary, di ba? Followed by detailed breakdown, and then finally yung mga notes to the account. Sa HR naman, for example, yung employee handbook, you might start with company's mission, vision, values, and then mga policies, and then you will end it with specific procedures and contacts. Okay. Ang dito matiltilad na pagtuturungan na. Okay. Vision, mission, doon akong contact, doon akong policies, doon akong madudod yung values. No. It must be arranged in a logical manner. And then, itong graphic design naman involves the visual aesthetics and layout of the information, making it appealing and easy to digest. Okay? So, pwede kang gumamit ng infographics. Ano pa ba? Sa HR, pwede kang gumamit ng mga charts, ng mga graphs, color codes to highlight areas na gusto mong i-highlight sa mga users or readers ng information na yan. So, itong form dimension, ini-emphasize niya talaga yung presentation, ensuring that information is not just available but it's also easily and effectively absorbed by its intended audience. Okay? So, packaging ang pinag-usapan dito sa form. Alright.